Welcome to all my moms, pops, guardians, and guests. This is episode number 32 of the Mom and Pop Spot podcast. Shout out to all my sleep deprived parents. I hope you guys get some coffee and little ones are not bullying you today. And you guys can sit back, kick back, and watch this episode. We got a good one for you guys today. So, for today's guest, we have two dope parents who have come to share their knowledge, their expertise, and experience on this thing that we call parenthood. Please show love to Cameron and Christina to the show. As soon as I get my, there we go. I was trying to do it two things at one time. Yes, welcome. Let me ask you guys, how are you guys doing from 1 to 10 mentally, physically, emotionally?
Depends on the day you ask.
Yeah. Or just like in this moment.
Doing well.
Yeah.
Today's well. Yesterday not so well.
Yeah.
It just honestly depends on the day. For me, being a single mom, it's a struggle some days.
Yeah. How you doing like right now? Like at this moment, like as far as just parenthood itself?
I'm doing well. Like on a scale 1 to 10, 10 being the best. I'm probably at a 9 or a 10. Like,
Nice.
It's well.
Yeah. And you?
Yeah. I'm running somewhere between 8 and a 9.
So the voice got deep. No, I'm about to 8 or 9.
But yeah, most of the time around 8 or 9. I mean, there are times where things dip when they don't go your way, but I practice mindfulness, so I'm really good at bringing myself back to the present.
Okay.
And keeping myself there.
Yeah.
I've been in mental health for 19 years, so I'm pretty good with coping skills.
Nice.
I will say, I'm back, by the way. I'm Pop Spot listeners.
Yeah.
I'll wait. Oh, I thought you were going to give me an applause. Never mind. I got excited.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you, Patrick.
Well, I was looking for something. Yeah, I was looking for
womp.
Yeah. It was a fart sound.
No, it was gonna be this one.
Oh
Yeah.
I'm back. So I was babysitting a lot out there. I have 2 nephews, 1 niece. I'm not having kids for the next 40 years. I do not. I learned. I am not. I do not have the patience for it. Yeah. I really like. That's why Unc waited a long time to have. You know what I'm saying? Have Jimmy. I don't have the patience for it.
Yeah.
I will strangle one of these kids. I will go to jail today. Especially my oldest nephew. I'm so sorry. My oldest nephew.
Let me just put the disclaimer out there. He's just playing.
I am kidding. I am kidding. I'm still 17. It's not child abuse. It's just hate crime.
I'll edit that part out later.
Yeah. That was...
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Let me disclaimer. I'm kidding. No, but though I realize, of course, with me too. I know. The older they get, the more attitude they have. You know what I'm saying? And my nephew Jaleel he got mad at me and threw his phone across the wall. I was like, oh.
That's typical kids.
He's about 9. He's about to turn 9. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, no, that's testing.
And he has a nice little phone too. He got like an iPhone 11 Pro or something like that.
But he's not paying for it though.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can tell you can buy it.
Exactly. I'm like, bro, you better.
The moment they buy
something, go give me a case.
They are responsible and they own it.
That's how I am now. My PlayStation does not have a scratch, buff on it, nothing.
Exactly.
None of the games are messed up. I am taking good credit of this.
Kids don't understand what it takes these days. One of my kids just ended up coming back from church camp, and he sends me this text, and he's like, "Mom, we stopped for lunch on the way to Catalina Island." And I'm like, "Cool." He's like, "It was $22 for Wingstop," and I was like, "Yeah, you guys think this life is easy and cheap, right?"
Oh my gosh, they be taxing.
Used to be cheap.
I saw this one. It was like TikTok. Somebody on TikTok posted this old ad, and it was of Popeyes. And it was like a 2-piece and a biscuit, and a drink was 99 cents. Bro, I was like, where they do that at?
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
It was like 89 though, like 1989. But
that's still pretty good though.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys, anything challenging this week within parenthood? Because you said like yesterday was kind of a struggle.
For me, as kids get older, and I have my oldest is one of my oldest is my girl, and then she's my only girl, and I have boys, and it's just hormones, and he's 16, and he's like trying to get loud, and I'm like, bro, I'm not it.
Right.
You already know I'm not it. Yeah. Chill out. And he's like, well, listen, take 2 steps back, because this ain't the day.
Yeah. We're from a different generation. Yeah, we don't play.
And he's just like, okay, well, no, just don't talk. Just don't talk, because it's not it. But having boys and being a single mom, and being obviously a mom and not a dad, it's definitely different. And I grew up with all sisters. I'm the oldest out of 4, all girls. And now having my boys, I'm like, this is a different feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I will say this about that. Sorry, not keep putting my. I'm not a parent, but I'm sure a kid though. Right? I used to get, you know what I'm saying, the whole feeling rebel, bro. That's gonna backfire. That will backfire bro. Because I was kicked out of my mom's house when I was 15. Because I was trying to be, you know what I'm saying. Oh, I'm big now. Nah, bro. I wish I could go back. This ain't it. Living that, you know what I'm saying, adult. This ain't it.
Right.
This ain't it at all. I don't like this.
This now when they can't.
A haircut is $30.
Right. And they don't realize, that's what I'm saying.
I'll be letting my stuff grow out. I'll probably just cut it all off.
Yeah. Fast food, like now Cash App, apparently that's the thing. Nobody has money these days. So my kids have Cash App and their Cash App cards. And the other one, the 16-year-old was like, Mom, use that money you sent me for like 2 McChickens and a large fry was $12. And I'm like, yeah, you guys think what I do is simple. It's really not. And it's very
McDonald's
expensive.
Be taxing now.
Yeah.
They up their prices for the drinks.
Right.
The drink, I'm serious. Like the drinks was like $1.05.
Yeah,
it's like $1.75.
I don't mess with none of it anyway.
Yeah.
What?
That's good. Don't. Please don't.
Yeah.
Don't do
it.
If you do, get the little McDonald's app, boy, that come in clutch. You get free food on there. Yeah, I'm saying, hey.
Yeah. What about you? Anything challenging?
This week, no. My kids are pretty smooth. Most of my children are adults, so I have 2 at home right now. My son will be 14 in a couple of weeks, and then I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And then my 17-year-old, she'll be 18 in a couple of weeks. They're actually their birthdays are a day apart. So when she turns 18, I'm gonna have 5 adults, and then 2. So those days are just more like advice and support now.
Is it more bittersweet though?
Hell no, it's a celebration. But I've been a parent since I was 15 years old.
You said hell no, it's a celebration.
So the bittersweet, like, nah. I think I felt that a little bit, like when I started going through my my second divorce. But afterwards, like I am looking forward to when my daughter turns 18. So she doesn't have to leave. I don't think that my kids, like, we were like, oh, when you're 18, you gotta get the hell out the house. She don't have to get out the house, but Dad's not gonna be there.
Yeah.
So no, it's a celebration.
So let me do this, because you guys are both talking about your kids and stuff like that. Can each of you give out, like, you know, your best advice for all your kids? Like if they're watching this later on, and what is your best advice for them, just specifically for your kids?
For my kids already know. So own up to your shit. You're allowed to mess up. And then you move forward from there.
Yeah.
Don't make excuses for your behavior. Own your behavior and then move forward so you don't have to continue to make the same mistakes.
Right. And what would your advice be?
Probably kind of closer to the same thing for me. Again, being a single parent, it's a lot. My kids have seen me struggle and not struggle, and they've kind of grown with it all through me.
Yeah.
But my thing is like, I'm blessed to be where I'm at now, but understand that I've distilled in them, you have to work hard to get where you want to be.
Right.
Don't expect handouts. Don't expect, if you're not going to put in the work, don't expect any comeback from it. So do what you have to do to get where you want to be, and don't make excuses for it.
Yeah, I understand.
Shout out Dip.
And then how do you guys feel, because you guys are both in, you know, different mom and dad are not in the same household. How would you guys feel if your child is calling another parent mom or dad?
Not happening.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
Like
I mean, that's how I would feel too. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's not even something I can fathom. So I've always been in my children's life. That's the reason, because I didn't have a mom or a dad growing up. Like my mom was around, but she was addicted to drugs. So my grandma raised me.
Okay.
And I always knew that my children weren't ever going to experience anything. So as a 15-year-old child, like I've always been in my child's life, period. That's not happening.
I have to relate, because the fact that I bust my ass as a father. So I don't ever want my kids to have to call another man father. That's going to make me feel a certain way. At the same extent, that's the reason why I take Father's Day with pride. You know, I know some people celebrate it, some people don't, but I take that with pride. I'm like, that's my Christmas. That's my birthday. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying 365. Right.
There's so many out there. So many men, and unfortunately now females, that have backed away and they're not there.
Yeah.
And to me, as a mom, I'm like, how there's so many females these days. It was a bigger thing for men, I feel like, back in the day, to leave and be gone or whatever the case was. But there's so many females these days that are just like, I'm good. And how do you walk away from your child? Like,
that's the hardest thing. I can't understand it when people are doing
I don't understand. And I'm just like, and I mean, for me, when it comes to that question, I have a little different. For me as a mom, no, because I'm there for my kids.
Mhm.
So I'd be damned if someone else. But when it comes to somebody else, like for my kids, if somebody was to step in and they felt comfortable, my kids are older now,
Mhm.
but if they were younger and they want to call somebody else dad, I mean, how can you be pissed off at something like that when you weren't there? You know,
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, I'm there for my kids. I do everything what I do is for my kids. So I'll be damned if they call somebody else mom. But at the
Mhm.
same time, how can you be pissed off if they call somebody else mom or dad?
But let's
But
say in your scenario where you're doing everything you can, you're
mhm.
providing, you're doing every single thing you can for your child, and then they go and call someone else mom who, let's say is barely even doing 10%.
Yeah, and that probably I
That
would
wouldn't fly
probably
with
Yeah,
you.
no,
it's not.
I
Yeah.
definitely feel some type of way because I'm like, they have a mom, they don't need another one at
Yeah, I
this
can't
point.
even. Yeah, there's no.
Yeah. And then
Right.
two parents who don't necessarily get along, that parent, a preteen or a teenager, you guys have kids that are older. What do you guys advise for the parents to stay civil without the emotions playing a part?
Ooh.
Sorry.
So the crazy part about that is, so I have both sides.
Uh-huh.
I've been married twice,
Yeah.
and then of course I had my daughter in high school. So the one that I had in high school, we've always been civil
Uh-huh.
because I've always been around my kid. Like that's all. That's all she knows. So, and she lives in Illinois. So like we're doing parenting over the phone. We're doing parenting, flying kids here, flying kids there,
Yeah.
making sure that we put our daughter first.
Yeah.
My first divorce, that it was not the same.
Yeah.
She to this day, apparently my name is still Mud, which is crazy because we were like in our 20s and now we're 40, 41 years old and I'm still getting blamed for shit that happened damn near 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then my second ex-wife, like we're friends, like we're super close. The kids know what she says
Uh-huh.
is like I say it. What I say is like she said it.
Okay.
So it's basically you put the kids first and you know that this is your responsibility now until they become an adult and start making their own decisions.
Mhm.
We're in charge of this, and if we don't, then we're gonna have a rough time.
So what do you do in those cases where you're having that animosity, that aggression, where two parents aren't able to get along, and the one parent saying, "Well, your mom or dad is a deadbeat," or whatever the case is. What do you guys advise in those situations to make it stay civil? You know.
Um,
I don't think personally, like I'll be the first on here to say like my kid's dad is a deadbeat. I
Yeah.
don't get child support. I get zero help.
Uh-huh.
And like you said, it's funny after all these years and 3 kids later, and we've been separated for 12 years.
Yeah.
He's done nothing for my kids. Like he's maybe seen my kids a handful of times, yet I'm the bad guy. His family still talks bad about me, and I'm like, I don't understand how I'm the bad guy here.
Right.
But okay, you guys should be happy. I mean, I'm blessed to be in the situation I am where I don't need nothing from him, but I still don't down talk my kid's dad
Yeah.
around my kids. I'll let them voice their opinion
Right.
and how they feel. But at the end of the day, we're the adults.
Uh-huh.
We need to lead by example.
Right.
So
Right.
if
I
we're
agree.
sitting here down talking and being horrible people, that's opening a different type of a door. Be the adult and be the role model
Right.
that they need.
Yeah. We were talking about prior to the show, we were talking
I keep
about
raising my hand
how
for some reason. Sorry.
we were talking about how we're very honest with our kids. At any point, is it ever good to be perfectly honest with them, where the parent, say, the divorce, there was a divorce and infidelity played a part, or something happened where there was like a dark enough secret? Are you ever honest with your kids to say, okay, like, um, your parent might have cheated, or this parent might have, robbed a store, whatever it ended up being? Are you ever that honest with your child?
so yeah, my kids know damn near everything about me.
Yeah.
Because I like so as a child you look at and you see your parents and we're like superheroes, right?
Right.
And then the moment you find out that they've done something negative, it fucks up your whole perception
Uh-huh.
of your child. So I always thought about it as far as they can see that, yeah, I'm dad, but
Uh-huh.
dad still makes mistakes. And then you can see where the change comes from because you can't teach somebody how to fly from the ground, period. So showing them, okay, this is what I've done, this is what happened. And now you see the steps that I'm making to make these
Right.
things right. They need to see that whole process. So being honest to their cognitive abilities, though, it's not like you're going to sit down and tell a 2-year-old, "Mommy did this" or "Dad did this." You're going to explain it to how
A 2-year-old would
how a
understand.
2-year-old would understand it. And then as you get older, because if you're going to tell them to own up to their mistakes, you need to own up to yours too.
Yeah, I agree. I understand.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to leading by example, like I was saying. Like for me, I've never hid anything from my kids. I've been 1000% honest in everything. Like it got to a point because with my kid's dad and his family, they're very manipulative. So he would call after we split up, and I would put it on speaker because I already knew it was going to come back to your mom was holding them, and your mom didn't let us see you guys, and he called for you guys every day, and so I would put it on speaker.
Yeah.
And to this day, those stories come out, and my kids are like, "No, he didn't ask about us. Like, little do you guys know, my mom put it on speaker." And so I'm very open and honest with my kids to every extent because they need to understand what is in this world. And so I don't hide much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, be the bigger person and show them people can change. You know, if you made a mistake, own up to it, but people can change. You may have done this when you were this old, but look at where you're at now.
Yeah.
Like my kids know when I was younger, I wasn't perfect, but they see where I'm at now. And even them, they're like, "You've come a long way." Well, you have to. You have to grow at some point.
Because sometimes I try to understand. Sometimes a parent will walk out, and then you hear these stories where the parent's telling the child, like, "Your dad died," and it's like 20 years later, the dad comes back in the picture, and it's like, "Well, I was never dead." Or you always hear these, these stories getting manipulated a little bit, and it's just like, why not just be honest so that way you don't have to come back to that lie? You know what I mean?
Well, be honest to a certain extent. Like for me, like if it was cheating or something, I'm not going to come out if my kids are 2 and be like, "Hey, guess what? Your dad was a cheater and he was having sex with another female." But if they ask like, "Hey, where's daddy at?" Well, things happen. Like if you ask, I'm going to tell them.
See, that's what I was wondering on the case, because I understand it's a case by case situation, but a lot of times you can say, "Oh, well, this parent was cheating." But then what happens if it's like this parent was cheating with, let's say this person, is straight and then they're messing around with the same sex, or they're messing around with an underage person. Like how deep of the rabbit hole do you have to go into before you're saying, okay, like I'm not going to say everything, or are you saying everything?
So with that scenario, with my children, they learned everything after they became an adult, because if it was something that was going to paint their mom into a negative light, there was no point in me doing that, because it was already being done on my behalf. And I used to just tell, like my son, I would be like, "You see your dad, right? It's what you see. Don't believe what you hear."
Understood.
And then when he became 18, oh, now we can have a talk because we're an adult. So he started seeing all that stuff. So the thing that backfired was, okay, as a child, he's hearing all these things and he's seeing dad in a certain way. But what he remembers is dad never said these type of things about mom. Plus, I have paperwork.
Yeah.
So like, all this stuff is going on, but here's paperwork explaining all of this stuff. And this is what, and he's looking, he's like, "Oh, this is why. Oh,
makes sense now.
That's why." It makes, and their relationship is tumultuous, not because of what I said, but what she was doing, because she was trying to paint herself in a better light. And all she had to do was be a human being and be like, "Mom and dad, we just didn't get along. We split up when he was 2.
Yeah.
He's gonna be 20 this year."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the age of the child on how like you explain it. And like you said, when they're older, they see it for themselves. And I'm a big advocate on actions speak louder than words. And even to this day, like, you guys want to run your mouth about me? Great, because my kids know what it is.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like you're saying, they're gonna see for themselves one day. So you sitting there and making their mom or dad look like a worse person, that makes you look worse as a person.
Right.
And I'm not gonna stoop to that level.
It's gonna backfire on you, because they're gonna look at you like, "Why would you do that? Like you made our relationship worse because of what you did."
Yeah.
And so now you're the asshole.
You had mentioned about being a superhero. At any point, did you ever have to sacrifice that title to make your kids actually humanize you guys? Let me give an example. Like, life happens. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have situations occur. You have a family member that's sick, or just something happens where it brings you down to where you're like, man, my mom or dad are human. You know what I mean? Because I've seen them cry, or I've seen them stressed out. Did you guys ever have those moments where you guys are like humanized from a kid's superhero viewpoint of a parent?
I feel like I have them all the time. I mean, not all the time, but I've definitely had them, and it goes back again. Like, I'm super honest with my kids, and at the same time, they're, as a single mom, like, I'm gonna do what I have to do. I could count on endlessly, honestly, not even count how many times, like, I cry in the shower, because guess what, mom's strong, so mom has to be strong, but mom can't always be
and that's
strong.
what I was thinking. Like, have you guys
And
ever had those moments where you're having meltdowns or you're breakdowns?
Now that my kids are older, when my kids were younger, it was like, mom's the rock, and now I have my moments now that they're older, and it's a little bit harder. I've been doing it by myself for a long time, and I have moments, and they understand now. They aren't 2, 3, 4, 5. They're, one's grown and out the house, and the other two are, my youngest is about to turn 13. And so they understand, and they're just like, okay, cool. But even like my daughter, as much as I tried to be strong and be this, like, when she graduated high school, like, her end of the year thing in English was like about me, and like talking about what I had gone through. And she's like, but through all of it, you smile. And I'm like, well, yeah, you kind of have to. And she's like, and I've seen you break, but I've always seen you get back up.
That's good. That's powerful. That's powerful.
Backtrack real quick.
What's up?
Back to what you were saying earlier about, the whole father side of the family, and kind of, I'm not going to put too much out there, but it's kind of what I'm going through right now. My uncle who runs all this is on my dad's side, and really was never close to my dad when I was real young. You know what I'm saying? I've always loved my pops, but just was never close, because one side, of course, tells me you never want to talk to you. Other side, you hear he's been trying to talk to you. You know what I mean? And I'm just, from the kid's perspective, you just don't know, oh, this is my dad, but you know what I'm saying? You don't know what to believe. My mom been there the whole time, but my dad hasn't been there. But also, has my mom been, you know what I'm saying, keeping me away and chilling me away?
I'm going through that now.
Yeah, so
I'm a grown woman.
It's more of like a confusion thing. You don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm a grown woman and confused.
Right.
Like, I grew up with a single mom, and my whole life, my mom was like, oh, he wasn't there, and I never saw him there. So I'm like, wow, she's right, and this and that, and left, right, and the other. And now that I'm grown, and he wanted to like step in, and I'm like, and he's still not around as much, but he's like, that was never the case. Like, I would reach out, and now, like, I've already, like, I love my mom to death, but like, I've already caught her lying about other stuff. So now, as a grown woman, I'm like, was that true? Like, and that's why with my kids, I feel like I was very open from this jump. Like, and that's why I would put the phone on speaker so they could hear. It's not me telling them, it's his mouth telling them. Yeah. So now that they're at that age and they can sit there and, oh, well, your mom this, and they're like, no, that's not the case, because not only did my mom tell me, I heard it with my own 2 ears. It's not even me telling them, it's the lies telling them, and it makes them look horrible.
And I kind of like that you did that, because 1 second, I apologize, Jimmy.
Go ahead.
But one thing that I do like is because of the fact that if it hadn't been that way, there's always 3 sides of the story.
Exactly.
His side, her side, and the truth. You know what I mean? And you're eliminating that process. You know?
Yeah, and so the human, I think I've always been like a human to my children, because they've known where I come from. Like, I grew up in Maryville.
Oh, me too.
That's why I was wondering if you guys knew each other.
Maryville, where?
55th and Thomas is.
Oh, I thought, because you said something about Illinois earlier.
Oh, so my daughter, my oldest daughter lives in Illinois.
That's where me and my uncle are from. So that's because there's a place called Maryville out there too.
Oh yeah, no, they moved out there when she was like 3.
Is it like,
I went to the military?
Like, is she like Southern? Because that's where I'm from, Southern, like St. Louis. Like, I'm from like St. Louis area.
Yeah, she grew up in Joliet, like the Joliet, Newland area.
No idea what that is.
So like, I've always been like human, like, but my youngest daughter, she was my grandma who raised me. She got married like 3 years ago. And I cried at her wedding. She was like, "Dad, I've never seen you cry before." So as far as that, like, them seeing me with that type of like vulnerability, probably not, but always like human. They know that daddy has flaws. They've heard them. Yeah. They've heard how violent I've been. They've all that stuff. So
and then I have a random parent question. But it was something that I was listening to. I heard the story, and it says you find out a child you raised, let's say 10 plus years, is not yours. Are you still raising that child, and what happens beyond that point?
18 years. 18 years.
There's a
And on the
topic
18th
that we're gonna
birthday,
go
you found out
into
it was
later
him
on in
in.
the show.
Yeah, so that's bro, I can't even fathom what that would feel like.
Yeah.
I've so 4 of my children are my biological children. I have 7. 3 of them aren't my biological children, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't know that if nobody told you that. So raising somebody else's child with the knowledge that it's not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. With bro, that's
hard because
that's super rough. Like I don't know if I could ever be like, oh, this isn't my child. Like 10 years in, this is my baby. But now we have problems.
Yeah.
Because that animosity is going to be there.
There's a story we're gonna go into later on, and it's gonna blow your mind. You're gonna be like, this sucks. You know what I mean?
I don't even want to put that in my. I'm really big on like manifestation and speaking things into existence. I don't even want to imagine that because your imagination is super powerful.
But
that is crazy.
I asked that because they had someone had posed a question, and I later posted it. I think I posted it to my social media where it says, should DNA testing be a requirement upon having a child? Here's my 2 cents to go even further on that. I think we should, because there's so much that's going on that I'm hearing about the baby swapping. It's not a big thing, but it does happen. I think that would also eliminate, okay, this is your rightful parents.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with that. And on top of that, it's not saying that. So usually the guys put out there as like, we're the sluts. We're the ones that are infidel is.
Yeah.
I can't even speak right now.
Yeah.
we're the one with the infidelity, but there's plenty. Like, so they say mama's baby, daddy's maybe. And, and that shit is real because the moms know, obviously the baby's yours. That's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And the dad always has like the thing in the back of the mind. I promise you that every single time one of the women were pregnant with my child, I was like, is this baby mine? It's not that I actually thought like this person is cheating on me, but that's always been put in my mind. And my grandma told me that.
Yeah.
She was like, mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
Yeah.
So basically pay attention. But my children, if these ones aren't mine, then whoever, it's a family member somewhere close. Because their personality, the way that they speak, both of my boys, my biological sons have my lisp.
Yeah.
They have my personality. Like my youngest son is my personality twin. Yeah. Like for a while he used to get on my fucking nerves because he was so much like me.
Yeah.
And then my baby, she acts just like me. Hiding snacks and shit. Like when I was a kid, I used to do that and find rappers. So we'll find rappers and all kind of regular ass play. Like there'll be like, why is there a rapper up here in this damn ceiling? Because you weren't gonna look for it.
Yeah.
So yeah. DNA, yes.
Yeah.
I think the roles are switched. I think DNA would be a smart thing because, like you were saying, back in the day, the guys were the hoes and they were out doing this, which that still may be the case. But I feel like this day and age, the roles really have switched. I feel like females are out there just wilding.
Wild girl summer.
Just wilding all the time, and I'm like, chill out, like respect yourself more than that. But at the same time, I don't feel like we grew up differently.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, you want to be in a committed relationship and I want to be with you and you want to be with me. Now it's like, no, I'm going to be with everybody. And I'm like, whoa, what is the deal?
I think this is perfect for the story we're going to mention here in a little bit. And we're going to go into after break. But before we continue, we're going to take a quick potty break. So don't forget to hit that like, subscribe to this channel, and share this video for support. We'll be right back.
Because they try to welcome a couple things
And back, everybody. welcome back. I don't know why. I was trying to do the applause. I don't know why. Yeah.
We're just
Yeah, I'll clap
laughing.
for you.
We're
I'll
just
clap.
laughing
Yeah,
in studio,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I didn't know what that
Live
was.
studio
I was like,
audience.
oh,
Yeah. I was trying to do the
I was like,
applause.
I don't know if that was a scary movie scene or
Yeah.
The twins from Shining.
Yeah.
right.
So a father was being shamed for roasting his daughter for having a promiscuous lifestyle. He didn't like the fact that she was very open with her dating partners. What is your guys' approach in this situation?
Roasting in what situation?
He was just making fun of her, saying like,
I'm
oh, you have a
very upfront with my kids.
Yeah.
Like I said, I treat my kids like they're my friends to a certain extent. I'm
Yeah.
still mom, but I'll tell, like, my daughter's about to turn 21 and she comes to me and she'll tell me everything and I'll be like, girl, don't even start with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll roast my kids. I'll be 100% honest. I roast my kids, but we all roast each other at the same time. It's kind of how we function as a family.
Yeah.
We make fun of it. Nobody takes it personal. I think there are certain issues that you need to be more serious about and you need to be a parent. But at the same time, like, I'll tell my kids all the time. And talking earlier about, kids not being yours, I have 3 that I birthed, but I have 5, and 2 of them were from my previous relationship. Their moms weren't around, and him and I split up, and he went out and did his thing and back in the streets, whatever. I kept him, and I've had him for 7 years, and I'm not going to change that. But it's the same thing. Like I tell the older of the 2, and I'm like, bro, when your stuff falls off, don't get mad.
Yeah, and that's
make sure you cover it up, and like we'll
Right.
roast each other. And I'm like, you guys come in smelling some type of way, I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain extent on as to what the situation is on how harsh you need to be. But like I said, I'm very open and honest with my kids.
And I think this father was more. It wasn't more of the joking manner. I think he was just
telling her she's disgusting
over and over and over again. Yeah, it just became more of just like a lecture.
But at the same time, like the way society is, like you have all these suicides, you can't belittle them to a point where they feel like they're nobody.
Yeah.
Like they need to remember they're somebody, but also respect themselves, because society's horrible. But not only from your parents, society's horrible these days. And it takes one thing on social media. And I mean, you have these poor kids, unfortunately killing themselves over posts and comments on social media. So you don't need it from your parent at the same time.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like it's like you have to have context on what was going on at that time. I mean, you don't want to tear your kids down, but at the same time, we all grow up a certain way, right? And so we parent the way that we were parented until we know better. So my older kids were parented different than my younger kids were. Like I spanked my older kids. The younger kids spanking, like I can ground them over the phone.
Yeah.
My voice is strong enough. And if I would have known that back then, I wouldn't have spanked my older kids, but we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So it's also based on like, what did he know? What did he grow up with? What's going on? It also sounds like he might have a trauma that was triggered.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
So
when I was reading, I was like, man.
Yeah. So it like once people's traumas are triggered, it's like all bets are off at that point. It's just going to come out. It's going to come out the way that it comes out. Does it make it right? No. But the understanding is where we need to get. We're too busy judging everybody's actions, but we don't know how we will respond dealing with that person in that situation. I don't even like that analogy. Until you walk in my shoes, you don't know, because if I'm walking in your shoes, it's still me walking in your shoes. It's not the same. I have 3 brothers and a sister. We all grew up in the same house with the same rules. We are not the same people.
Yeah.
Because we grow up and we see things differently. I'm the oldest, so my perspective is different.
Right.
Like I'm basically dad still. I'm the older brother, but I'm also dad. And then I was a young father at that. So our perspectives are different. It's just going to be that way. So as far as like roasting my kids, they do that all the time.
Yeah.
And now that I'm more cognizant of how we can make each other feel, especially when somebody that loves you speaks in a manner, even if it's joking.
Right.
If you start listening to it long enough, you're going to start internalizing that, and then it's going to show up in different ways. So we need to find better ways to do this. So once we're aware of that, then that's when we take care of it. But as far as like what's happening in the heat of the moment, like it's one of those things. Now, can we go back and talk about it afterwards and see what's going on? But to judge somebody in that moment for what's going on, like you don't know how you would respond to that.
Yeah, and I have to agree. And then if you guys had the choice, to give up your whole entire lifestyle where you guys are at right now. You guys got to give up your kids, and in return, you get this luxury, lavish lifestyle. You guys doing that?
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
I went through everything I've been through. It's built me who I am today. Like, even, I mean, when it comes to my kids are my rock. My kids are my world. My kids are why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it. And I've been through hell and back. And I started young too. I had my daughter when I was 17, but it built me to the person I am today. Like, I couldn't imagine life without them now.
Yeah. My kids are like, so the older ones, we have more like a friendship. I always tell my kids, we don't have a relationship. This is a dictatorship. Like, our relationship is when you can tell me no, then that's when we have a relationship, because now it's an equal part, but I'm responsible for what's going on with you. You telling me no is not an option for you.
Right.
So no, this is a dictatorship. When you get 18 and I'm no longer financially responsible for you, and I'm not going to get in trouble for the choices you make, then we become a relationship.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, like, but my children, like, nah, bro, that's
and that's one thing I always tell my kids: don't ever put yourself in a situation I can't get you out of.
Exactly.
Don't put yourself in a situation that's going to make me make a worse decision.
Right.
I tell my kids, I'm telling you right now as an adult that I know that I'm responsible for my actions.
Yeah.
But if you put me in a position to make the wrong decision because of what you decided, I'm going to make the wrong decision. I'm telling you that right now.
I want you to hold on to that thought, because I'm going to ask you a question later on. I know I'm going to jump around because it made me think of another thing that happened. It's horrible. But I want you to remember that phrase right there.
Okay.
Because I personally, I don't know how I would react. I know there would be some reaction. I don't know if I would legally say what I would do, but think about that. There's a question that's coming up.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
What's up?
So I don't know if you guys heard the story about this girl who's getting married. She was getting married, and her stepdad was there for, I think he said 10 plus years.
Uh-huh.
And he paid for the wedding, paid for everything.
Yeah.
And she is having her biological dad, who was barely there,
walk her down the aisle.
Mm-hmm. So he pulled all funding away. Is he wrong or
as
right
he
for that?
As he should.
As he should.
As he should.
Not only that, but they also like discluded him from most of the preparation of the wedding period.
Right.
So it wasn't just that she was having her biological father walk her down the aisle, but it was the exclusion that they went to have him
Right.
pulled away from that wedding. So absolutely.
So
I'm gonna go into this. So my oldest, who lives in Illinois, her mom got married to a dude named Jack. He passed away a few months ago. But up until that point, like, I was the only dad that she knew. But when I met Jack, like, there was like instantly I knew he was there for my daughter. So I always say my daughter has two dads. Like, I'm her dad, but Jack was also her father. So like when she graduated, we took pictures together. Like, this is her dad. I introduced, like, yeah, this is her dad, Jack. Not this is her stepfather. This is her dad. And if he did all, like, we would both, if she got married, if he was alive, I would like it to where we were both walk her down the aisle when she got married, because that's how much I appreciate it. Not only that, because I've done that for my children. So the other three, like, I've been their father, been in their lives since they were 8, 6, and 2. The 2-year-old, I'm the only one that she ever knew, the one that's going to be 18. So yeah, I couldn't imagine that. But for somebody not being there, that would be a problem. And he should yank his money immediately.
And my stepdad, I will, you know what I'm saying, we've had our disagreements, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We communicate now, we're back talking. But I always appreciate the fact that he never, this is my stepson. He always introduced me, hey, this is my son, this is my daughter, you know what I'm saying? He never put the step in front of it. He will always.
I could never.
Yeah, he will always just, hey, you know what I'm saying? You're my son.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to replace your daddy, none of that, but you're still my son. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
That's
and
the
I
role.
would always, you know what I'm saying? He taught me a lot of life lessons.
Yeah.
Like him and my big brother was the two main, you know what I'm saying? My big brother taught me how to ride a bike. He taught me how to play basketball. I don't ride bikes anymore, but I still play basketball.
No, I can never differentiate my kids. Like I said, I have my 3 that I birthed and the 2 that are mine.
Right.
But like, there's been instances even at church, and they're like, "Oh, well, which ones are yours?" And I'm like, "All 5 of them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that, but which ones are yours? And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Do you want me to count them out for you? All
Yeah.
5 of them? Well,
Right.
which ones actually did you? All 5 of them? Like, I'm not
Just
gonna
stop asking,
differentiate
yeah.
like one from the other. I love them all the same. I had my 3 kids' names tattooed on me. I added their names to their
Oh, yeah.
names. Like, they're mine.
All 7 of my children are tattooed on
My-
Yeah,
my
like
body.
I'll
Yeah.
be damned if someone told me differently. They're mine,
I just-
110%.
That annoys the shit out of me sometimes when people try to like get more information.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the relevance? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
what
exactly.
good is it doing you?
Right,
Who
and
gives
I'm
a
not
shit?
gonna treat them any differently.
Yeah.
They all get disciplined the same. I joke with them all the same. They all get
Yeah.
the same treatment when we all go school clothes shopping. It's not like I've never introduced them as my stepkids, and nor would I ever.
I've never been
Yeah.
really like a jealous sibling. You know what I'm saying? It really, especially these last couple of years, it really made me, you know what I'm saying, realize how precious, especially sibling time. I'm sure, you know what I'm saying, I don't know if your kids bicker with each other. I'm sure every sibling bickers, but it is best to have, you know what I'm saying, time with your, my brother passed away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He died a couple years ago. And I'll do anything to get, you know what I'm saying, to go play basketball or anything with him again. You know what I mean?
Have a
Yeah,
moment.
and that's
And
what
like
they,
this is everybody. I'm gonna get his name tatted on me.
Yeah.
I probably might not like that, but I would. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
well, yeah, that's
But-
he's a part of you regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot. I wouldn't have probably even been out here. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
So
Like my kids, you would never know that ones were biological and ones were not.
Yeah.
Like my
you
kids
could
argue
you could
the
tell
same.
you could tell the difference between me and my step siblings.
Yeah,
But because
But that's from a sibling standpoint.
not
Right.
from a sibling standpoint. Like my kids argue the same.
Yeah.
right.
As much as they argue, they love each other the same. One is there. If one needs something, the other one's dropping what they're doing. Like, you would never know. I mean, physically, 2 of them are a little bit darker than the other ones.
Yeah.
But, like, other than that, you would never know the way they love each other, the way they argue with each other, the way they act with each other. You would never know they weren't all.
My stepbrother hated me, hated my gut, because he always felt like, oh, you took my dad away from me. You know what I'm saying?
All
Bro,
that envy and then-
I'm 7. I don't know. Like,
Right.
he
I
just
didn't
messing
choose
with my
this.
mama.
I didn't choose it.
This is my mama new boyfriend. This, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But, you know what I'm
But
saying?
kids go through that. Like, kids go through that period. So even if he was like your biological brother, there would be something that you guys would
We'll bicker about.
Yeah, because that's like that competition. I don't know. I think it's just something that's in our nature to have and to kind of separate. My youngest 2, they're a year and a half apart, and for a long time they fought like cats and dogs. Like you can have them in the same room.
That's my
Neither-
chill.
yeah,
doing
neither-
some- like they're
Yeah.
just
Me
gonna
and him
find a
used to
way to
all the
fight.
time. I'm talking about like with pool sticks. Like we were like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we
That's
were,
what worries me.
Oh,
yeah,
Like,
we
my
were
youngest
aggressive. We were aggressive. Like
my
we were
youngest
terrible.
2 are biologically, and they're 16. Well,
I
he
got
just
I got
turned
a gash
16
on my
and 12.
side.
Yeah,
like,
and
probably
I'm
about
to the
this long.
point where I'm like, my 16-year-old is 6'3" and 220 pounds. Like, he's
Yeah.
a solid boy. And then my 13-year-old is getting ready to be, well, he's 12. He'll be about to be 13. He's right behind him. And I'm like, you guys are going to get to the point. Like, my 16-year-old acts like he hates my 13-year-old and he can't stand him. And it just is what, and I'm like, but the minute something happens, he's
Protective.
Yeah,
Automatically.
he is quick. Like when my 12-year-old, he went out to church camp. He was like, do you have this? Do you have this? Don't do this. Don't do that. And I'm like, and then at the same time, like, he was ecstatic when he came back. Like,
Yeah.
and then 5 minutes later it was over. But it gets to the point and like they can't stand each other. And one day I'm
That's-
like, you guys are
that's
just
how
gonna
me-
fight because I'm not gonna get between you 2
That's how me and my cousin
ginormous
is.
kids.
That's how me. I have a cousin named Iesha. I'm not gonna put too much out there, but I have a cousin named Iesha. When I was in Arkansas, she was out there. She, you know what I'm saying, we had a little house party. You know what I'm saying? Stuff happened with her and a guy, and we bicker all the time. But when I saw somebody
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying, trying to woo to my cousin,
Yep.
nah, bro. You know
And
what I'm saying?
that's what it is. They're so
boy. He saw me
protective.
walk. He saw me and my brother can. Well, not even gonna do this. My brother Kendra. He saw me and him walk up. He was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Probably because of me. I ain't gonna lie. And I was like, I was really in a grumpy mood. Like, bro, it's 2 a.m. I'm trying to go to sleep. And y'all out.
Right.
But
But let me ask you this other question. What are some sacrifices parents have that someone with no kids can understand?
We kind of give up everything, honestly. Like for me personally, like
Mhm.
if I'm 99.9%, my son actually almost came with me today.
Yeah.
my kids are with me.
I thought about bringing my son.
Or like
Yeah.
I literally was about
Yeah.
to text you and be like, "Can I bring my 16-year-old
Oh yeah,
with me?"
I have everybody come. You know.
And so like if you see me, you see my kids.
Yeah.
There's no like that's my rock. That's
Yeah.
my world. Like I don't know, for me it's a struggle as a parent. Like you see all these people like, "Oh, it's rough out here." And I'm like, "Boy, if I didn't have kids, do you know where I would
Yeah.
be in life?" Like, but at the same time I wouldn't change it for the world. Like everything you do, everything like it's not just myself anymore. I can't just do things for myself. I can't just make moves for myself. I have to, okay, is this the best move for my kids? Is this going to affect my kids? How is this going to work for my kids? And I think of them before I think of myself.
Yeah. One of the rhetorics that kind of annoy me is the fact that like it's this new thing where being, not having kids, it seems to be the thing. It's not as bad. I think what people that don't have kids, I think they need to understand that it's not bad having kids.
It's
Like
not.
I get my best moments.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm having a shitty ass day at work and just going to, home to them and my kids are saying just something random or just their actions or their face expression, something, and just I drift off and I forget about the day that I had because of the fact that they were able to take me away from it.
Yeah.
The best thing that's ever happened to me is having kids.
That's what it changed my whole world. It changed the path I was on. It changed. I mean, I was still going places. I obviously had my daughter young, but I was going to go places. I was doing big things, but I was like, no, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like that's my world right there. Like I couldn't imagine not having kids. Like you said, you could have the worst day ever and come home and all of a sudden like life's okay. It's not as bad as you thought. Like just as long as my kids are okay, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Your time isn't yours anymore. Like it's
you're on borrowed time.
Your money isn't yours. Like you're actually working
for them,
for your children. Like they're really like, okay, we call ourselves the boss, but they're really your boss. When they're hungry, you have to feed them. When they need clothes, you have to get them. We want this, we want that. So we're sacrificing our momentary or our present freedom so that they can grow into individuals that we didn't have the privilege of being
right.
And growing up. So I understand. So there's this running joke that I say, like, if I ever come back, like I'm not having kids this time. Like I've had enough. 7 kids, and then I have a grandchild. Like, so when I come back, not only am I going to be about 6'3", but I'm not going to have any children because I'm going to be traveling and going and seeing a whole bunch of stuff. But as far as this life, like, I love my children. Like they're the greatest gift. They are the reason that I'm here. If my daughter wasn't born, her name is Destiny for a reason. If she wasn't born, bro, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like I'd be in somebody's prison, or I'd be dead, or I'd be somebody
I'd be in trouble.
You wouldn't want to be around. Like, period.
Yeah. I mean, I gave up music because of my oldest. I was done, just doing everything in general. My whole focus was wanting to be, a parent at that point. It was no longer about me; it was about them, and because of it, now it seems to be one of my bucket lists is to be able to be old enough to where I can see them, if they get married, I can see them if they have kids, I can see them as adults. That's my bucket list.
Life is different. I feel like once you have kids, like you're not out here wilding. I'm really thinking about the moves I'm making now. When it comes to my kids, like you were mentioning earlier, don't put me back. Don't think that girl's still not there because she's there.
Yeah.
People like to test it, but I'm like, at the end of the day, like I think smarter now. I'm not gonna make dumb moves. Like I know my kids need me. If something happens to me, who they got? Like, so I do my best to be a lot smarter, but
yeah. And I would love to hear your guys' opinion on this. A father reveals he's not the father at a baby shower, leaving the mom and announcing who the mom was cheating on. Is he right or wrong for this?
I think it depends on the situation.
He found out, that she was pregnant with someone else, and he ends up announcing it at the baby shower.
I mean, are you announcing it because you're like, I'm good, I'm dipping, or are you announcing it to humiliate her?
I think he's probably.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think he was hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people lash out when you're hurt.
Yeah.
You lash out and do things that you regret. And being grown and where I'm at now in life, like I've learned, I'm not going to react off of emotion. I try to chill out before I do something stupid. But I mean, when you're hurt, you tend to take things a little bit out of proportion.
Yeah.
I'm, bro.
Are you gonna be that guy?
I can see both scenarios. Like it depends on what happened. Like what led me to that point. Because first of all, if I'm hearing how no good of a person I am, and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, and then here we're celebrating this woman holding a child that's supposed to be mine, and everybody's around that's also had their opinions and that been flicking shit at me, and I get a chance to flick it back. Like, even though like 85% of the time I'm a real positive person, I have embraced my dark side, and it might come out at that fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, man, fuck this. Yeah. So
I'm embarrassing. You know what I mean? I'm gonna embarrass her because of the fact that she embarrassed me by having someone else's kid.
Well, I'm a big person. Like, don't have me out here looking stupid.
Yeah,
like,
that's
if
crazy.
half these people in this baby shower know you're messing with old dude.
Yeah.
My bad. If you're messing with old dude and this kid is his, and you have me over here like, let's take a picture. No, don't have me out here looking dumb.
I'm
I'm
now
rubbing on the stomach and singing to the baby and
Exactly.
shit, thinking about the way I'm about to raise it, and this Otis from down the street. Like, nah,
Right.
Yeah.
we
And
have a
half the-
problem.
And
Yeah.
half the people there know, like, don't have me out. That's my biggest thing. Like, don't have me out here looking dumb.
Yeah.
Like, please don't.
Because you know somebody
I'm
knows.
popping
Yeah.
off at that point.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
somebody knows.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody out here just keeping all these secrets. Somebody always knows. They say the best way that 3 people can keep a secret is if 2 of them are dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I asked you earlier. I wanted you to hold your thought. This one is crazy. This one's hard. But now I want to hear what your thought would be. Woman calls her father and confesses that the arresting cop raped her. He tried bribing her and still put her in the county jail. Cop turned off location in the camera. Woman was afraid to go to the cop, saying that she didn't think that the people would believe her. Cop was found guilty and later charged. You know, as a father and as a mother, how are you guys handling the situation?
That's
what I'm saying. I don't think I could say.
Yeah, so I'm going to go around somewhere around that lines. Number one, because it hits home a little too close.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to tell you is that it depends on where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm in physical proximity, then something's going to happen.
Yeah.
If I'm further away to where I can now analyze the situation and see what's best for my daughter at that point, then I'm going to make a different decision. And I've been put in that position twice. So yeah, if I'm in physical proximity, something's happening. If I'm further away, if it's going to take me hours to get there, if I got to buy a ticket or a plane, or like something to where there's steps behind it, to where now if I get there, I know, all right, it's not a passion thing anymore. It's like, oh, this motherfucker came out here to plan this.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to think a different way. But I still can't tell you exactly what I would do. I can tell you 100% physical proximity, something's going to happen.
Yeah, something is definitely. You don't mess with my kids.
Anything else, like it's going to be a while. Like, I'm gonna have to think about like what's best for my baby and how I can get her what she needs
right
at that time.
Yeah. And as a mother,
I'm catching an L. My daughter already knows I'm catching that L. Like, I tell my daughter all the time. My daughter is my oldest, and she's 20. She's about to be 21, and she's out here doing her thing. And I can't. All I can do is pray and tell her to be careful. But
I mean, it's a cop.
I don't care. Like, when it comes to my kids, I don't care if you're the president of the United States of America, to be honest. Like, we're going to take things to a different level. Like, when it comes to my kids, like, I'll take an L real quick. And
I'm taking an L too.
I always tell my daughter and my kids, I'm like, please don't put me in a situation. Like, I have my MLO license. Like, I have a lot of things. Like, really quick, I will go and all that will be gone. Everything I worked so hard for to this day. But when it comes to my kids, like, I don't
play with my kids.
I don't play. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, don't play with my kids. Like,
especially that. Like, I'll go to hell and back. Actually, I'll stay in hell for my kids. Just make sure they put an AC in that coffin so I can stay cool when I'm in there. You know what I mean?
Exactly it. Like, when it comes to my kids, like, I'm losing it all, and I will do it again. Like, don't play with my kids. Like, I'm taking an L.
Yeah. And then what about this one? 2 brothers, they collect knives, ammo, and armor. You know, they wait some time and then they end up killing the whole family one by one. We hear this happen, you know, time and time again.
Situation, yeah.
What are we needing to do as parents so that way this, you know, we stop, so that way this doesn't become the, you know, the normal occurrence, you know?
All right. So this is the mental health professional talking to me, and what I'm going to tell you is there's not a cut and dry answer for that.
Yeah.
Because there are children that just are wired different. Like the parents or the environment didn't necessarily have to be a tumultuous one that created trauma and a whole bunch of other things. Sometimes people are just wired that way. Like it was passed down and this is how they've been. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's created and cultured, I would say that number one, listen to your kids. Let them know that they have a voice. Because usually when people lash out that way, it's because they don't feel like anybody's listening. Like in any argument, right? The person who's screaming the loudest is the one that feels like they're unheard.
Yeah.
So that's where people are done listening at that point. So if I'm screaming, nobody's listening. And that means I also feel like you're not hearing me.
Right.
So if we can sit down and have a conversation and figure out what that person's trigger is and where we can meet this person. Number one, they need to identify what their triggers are and know how to deal with that in that specific moment. Because what we do is, oh, you triggered me, and then they'll lash out and then leave, but nobody comes back to the problem, and the problem needs to be addressed. So let's figure out what the triggers are. Let's do a coping skill, whatever that is, and then come back and address the situation. And we're going to listen to understand and not listen to respond, because people are usually trying to defend their position instead of actually listening to how you affected that person's situation and what's going on.
Yeah.
And being right at that time is not what somebody needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably the same thing for me. Just sit and listen. Like I listen to my kids and I've created a relationship where they can come to me about anything. Like my kids talk to me about everything and anything, which I'm blessed.
Do you do
and
like
I'm
random
happy.
checks with your kids?
Yeah, and I'll talk to them like, how are you feeling? How are you this? Like we've talked like, okay, like my kids talk to me about school, what's going on at school, like everything. I sit there and I'm like, it's a real thing, like things that happen in society or they see on social media, we talk about. Like I always let my kids have their moment. Like I was saying at the very beginning, like even though they are some at that age where I'm like, back up, you're at a 10, get to a 2, because we're gonna have a different discussion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I want them to know, like I care, regardless of what it is, whatever the case is. Like I care, you're listened, I hear you. Make them feel like you care, and not just like, okay, cool. Like I have other things I need to do. Because I had that happen to me when I was younger. Like I was having a really bad day at school. I literally tried to kill myself. My mom decided to choose a man over me, and I'm sitting in the kitchen crying, having a moment. She pretty much was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And I tried to slit my wrist. And it's just something I learned so much from what I went through growing up that I'm like, I could never, like, I want my kids to know I care regardless of what it is. Nothing comes before that. I don't care if I'm late to work, if I have to miss work, if I have to go pick you up, whatever the case is, like mom's always going to be there.
And this last one, this is where the other one I was mentioning earlier. A father takes ex-wife to court to prove child isn't his after he spent 5 years in jail for child support. He ended up going to jail because he didn't pay. He was back. He owed back pay, and he was, in jail for 5 years. Court finds he is not the father. Ex-wife admits to knowing he wasn't the father, but wanted the money because she couldn't financially support the child.
That's one of those things that happens a lot, actually.
It really does.
What are you asking as far as that goes? Like, what's the response to that?
Yes, if this is you guys, if you guys are put in the situation, what are you doing? You.
I'm gonna need.
I know it's a dumb question. And it needs to be more clear, I guess. Because the fact that like this guy spent 5 years. He gets out, and this could have de-escalated if prior to him going to jail, she's like, okay, he's not the child. Let's figure something out. What should have been the right approach, I guess, is my question. Prior to him going to jail. She's afraid. She's like, shoot, like, yeah. I mean, well, yeah.
Like, honestly, like when it comes down to me and being a single parent, like everyone says there and they're like, you're a single mom and you do this on your, but you speak to, Because I understand, you know
But
what
she's
I
getting
mean?
paid out of it. So she's just like,
Well, that's my thing is she's saying I can't financially do it. Okay, so woman up and do what you have to do. I
yeah,
have a really hard time with I don't like excuses. Like, bro, man up to your stuff, woman up to your stuff, and take your responsibility.
yeah.
If you know don't do it, and you have him going to jail, like
He
be
went
a
to
woman.
jail.
Be a woman.
He still had a small inkling of thinking like, maybe this child is mine. There's so much that I was trying to break down, like just focusing on one question, but there's so much that's there because now he just found out, okay, this kid really isn't mine. I just spent 5 years, you know,
Yeah.
because of this child. I paid all this time for this child because this kid was older. He was like 14, 15 years old. Um, the relationship now with this father or who was, thought to be the father is now not the father. That relationship between the father and the child, there's just so much, and I'm just like, okay, like what? How do I, pick apart this? I mean, it's
Yeah, that's a lot. And on top of that, like the punishment is ass backwards, right?
yeah,
Because he's going to jail for not paying child support. Putting him in jail is not going to continue.
yeah,
um, it's going to continue the trend of him not being able to pay child support. It doesn't make sense.
yeah,
To like, okay, 5 years, that's ridiculous. All right. Oh, so you haven't paid child support, boom, we're gonna put you in here a week, we're gonna do this. We can make things harder for you to get certain things until you start taking care of your responsibilities. But to lock somebody up for 5 years for not taking care of their child
does nothing.
does nothing. And it's contributing to the fact that he's still not taking care of his child.
Yeah,
And not only are you doing that, but now you are damaging that person's reputation. So when they do get out, they're going to be looked at differently, and you're not going to be able to. Society, no matter what anybody says, so people go into prison or jail and they come back out and they've done their time, right?
right.
Because you go in, you're supposed to go in for a certain amount of time. You come out, you're supposed to be able to start over. That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
We know that doesn't happen unless you're of a certain hue or certain demographic.
right,
You're not going to get that second chance. Like
right.
you're always going to be looked at as this person. So you affected this person's life and other people until he's off the planet, and
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense to me. And the system needs to be
And had he
restructured.
got a, let's say he, the situation where he didn't take her to court, he probably would have still had to pay her until she turned 18. That's the only thing that saved him is by taking her to court. And they didn't talk about it, which I don't know the situation, but he's not getting that time back. He's not getting 5 years back.
He probably
But
ain't getting his money back either.
that's my follow-up question is, is he getting that money back?
I
Which
doubt
I
it.
don't, I doubt it.
I doubt it. And to me, I'm like, be a woman. Like, if you messed up or so and so's the dad and not him, but he, like, be a woman about it.
And watching the video,
Like, what are you doing? At the end of the day, like, it's really hard for me when females don't step up. I'm a single mom. And everyone has an excuse. I had a kid young. I grew up in the hood. I didn't have a dad. I had a rough upbringing. I chose the life I chose.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, and then everyone's like, oh, well, this is why I do what I do. That's not an excuse.
yeah,
I wanted to change everything. I did not want my kids to want or need as I did growing up.
Yeah.
And I made the difference. I did what I had to do. Yes, sometimes we're worse than others, but at the same time, like, be a woman about it. Like, I'll be damned to this day if my kids ever go without. I will do whatever I need to do as a mom to make that happen and not rely on anybody else.
right.
She didn't want to step up, it sounds like, to me as a mom, and do what she needed to do to support her kid. And if it's so and so's kid, then make so and so be responsible.
Yeah. And just watching him break down, it was sad.
As a human, how do you do that to another human? Like, oh, you're sitting in jail while I'm out here living my life, but this kid isn't even yours.
hear
Like,
that
how
story
do
all
you
the time,
sleep
though.
at night, like, thinking that's okay?
Yeah.
It's not at all.
Well, because the rationale would be, well, somebody else does it, or somebody, like, when you can do that to another person, you're probably doing worse to yourself.
Yeah.
That's like, because nobody's going to treat you any better or any worse than you treat yourself. And it's a fucked up way to look at it, but it's the absolute truth, right?
Yeah.
Because the moment you really, really care about yourself, even being in those like domestic violence situations or dealing with those type of, when you start loving yourself, you're going to remove yourself from that situation.
Right.
But when you believe that and you internalize it, you're going to stay in there because this is the best I can get.
Yeah.
so I might as well stay here. So that's where it comes from, because it's the internal dialogue.
Right.
So I like to sit down and tell my kids, like, so I know what you're telling me out loud, but I want you to pay attention to what you're saying to yourself when you're sitting on the toilet, or we're on the drive, or you're going for a walk, because that's who you are.
Right.
That's the voice in your head, the stuff that you're saying to yourself. That's who you are.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm saying to you out loud.
Uh-huh.
It's the insecurities or the things that I'm saying here. Like, oh man, I'm always fucking up. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, because we say that over and over in our mind. So we're rehearsing that, and it becomes who we are. And then you'll say it out loud. Imagine how many times if you say it out loud, you've said it probably 100 more times in your mind.
Yeah.
So we need to practice that and the awareness of where that comes from. So being in this field, I can see how all of these things happen.
Yeah.
Does it make it right? No. But there's a reason for the way that everybody acts.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right, but what's the solution? And the solution is we need to look to ourselves first and teach you're more important, not more important than I am. Your children aren't more important than you, because if you don't take care of yourself, your children aren't going to be taken care of. So we like to say I put my children first, because it's a good philosophy to have. But if you keep putting yourself on the back burner, that shit's gonna fuck up somewhere.
Yeah.
And the train is coming off the track. So take care of yourself first, so you can take care of others.
Right.
It was crazy. One of my friends actually told me as you said that, I thought about it in analogy to that. Like, he was going through some stuff and he was actually seeing a counselor, and the counselor was like, why do you think when you go like on a plane and they're like, hey, if something happens in the mask deploy, put the mask on yourself before you and everyone's like, those are my kids. Like, I'm putting a mask on but at the end of the day, if you can't be you and help yourself, you can't help anybody else.
Exactly.
If you're not who you need to be for yourself, and then you can't be that for your kids. And I can speak on that, because when I was with my kid's dad for 15 years, I had physical, mental, verbal abuse every day.
Yeah.
And so, and you get told something so many times that I don't know how, by the grace of God, I got strong enough to leave. I think it was more because as my kids got older, I was like, I don't want my boys and my daughter to think this is how you should be treated, or this is how you treat a woman. This is how you should be treated as a woman. I didn't want that for them, and that's what made me strong. But at the end of the day, like, I believe what he said. I believe nobody was going to want me. I believe that I was nothing. I believe, and you get told that so many times that you truly start believing it.
Yeah, and that's where the roasting stuff comes in, because if somebody that loves you says these things so many times, somebody's gonna be like, well, it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I used to be the biggest roasting champion ever, and every once in a while I'll say little things here and there, but not enough to strike a nerve to where they're like, you just say like little things. Like, my sons walk around with their shirts off in the house all the time, so I call them nipple gang. I'm like, oh, you walking around with your nipples out today. But like, oh, you're this or you're that, and this is like, I don't do that.
I walk around room
because I need them to know. I need them to know that that the person that they loves them is going to say the most supportive and loving things, more than tear them down, whether for the sake of a joke. Like, it's not even worth it at that point.
Nobody's gonna know. Oh.
And you know what that means. It's now time for the no, the O, and the laugh. It's where this and every show we get up man, I just stumbled on myself. Let me say it again. You know what that means. It's now time for the no, the O, and the laugh. It's where this and every show we give out a random hack, fun fact, or message and joke. Today's hack, because we're dealing with the heat, always carry a diaper around. And I say that because if you have little ones you need to put in car seats, what you do is you wrap the diaper around the metal part of the seatbelt, the baby's buckle, and that way they don't get burned. So carry around a diaper. Or you could even use it for yourself too, because you're getting in the car. The seatbelt's really hot at times. Throw the diaper around it.
Seatbelts ain't no joke.
Yeah, they're not, especially in Arizona.
I got leather seats too.
I do too. I sit in my truck and I'm like,
I had shorts on the other day, and I was like, oh shit. I'm pulling my shorts down, wearing my pants like the kids do, sagging and shit, so I can drive.
Arizona ain't a joke.
Start carrying around a towel too in those cases too.
Yeah,
I mean, that'll help some. And today's joke. What did Cinderella do when she got to the ball?
friends. She partied.
What did Cinderella do when she got to the ball?
What did she do? Listen, I feel like this is probably like a dirty joke for some reason.
Come on, well.
She was like, "Did you shave these?" Manscape. I don't know what did she.
That's what she did. That's what she did.
I knew it. I knew it was something like that.
Sense.
I knew he was on that.
Yeah.
Like somewhere. Like.
Yeah. I told you it wasn't really kid appropriate today. There we go.
Yeah. You pushed it twice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I gotta end it. Go ahead.
Yeah. End the message. Actually, this one's more serious. I should have did a more friendlier one because the message is total different vibe. But parents, learn what you're posting on social media or with friends about your family, or with friends or your family. I want to share a quick story before we end the show that I read. A mother was an active influencer and personality. She loved her family very much, and when given the chance, she would post what they did and all kinds of family details, like milestones and things that she did and didn't do, stuff that wasn't necessarily dangerous. The kids' hobbies, their favorite things they all liked, disliked, even their nicknames and special upcoming events. What she was doing, she didn't think was harmful at all. However, it soon became a day she wouldn't forget because one day when she was getting off of work, she was running late because work was busy, it was hectic, traffic, everything. Her kids would walk home since they lived close by. It was at this point a family friend took advantage of a situation and tried picking up the kids, saying their mom was running late and he needed to pick them up. The oldest thought it was weird and nothing had been mentioned to him, and the mom didn't text him of this because the kid had a phone. The child followed through with his intuition and decided to decline the offer and head home. The family friend decided to follow the kids all the way home and tried entering the home. The oldest called his mom and alerted her of this. Luckily, she was able to get home in a hurry and alert officials before anything tragic had happened. It was later disclosed that this family friend was a registered sex offender and learned the details by watching the mom's social postings and day-to-day details. Parents, I say to you this, be careful what you are posting and know who you are surround your little ones with. Teach them the dangers of the world and what to do if ever in a situation like this. It's a scary world and a lot of sick and disgusting people are out there. Protect the kids and make them stronger each and every day. And as we wrap up the show, I want to thank today's guests, Cameron and Christina. There you go. What'd you guys think?
It was nice.
Yeah, covered a lot. A lot of important stuff. So, you guys want to promote anything?
No.
I'm on now. Not really. Not right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll plug my daughter. So I have my second oldest daughter is a entrepreneur. She's probably had like 2 real jobs in her life, and now she lives off her passion. She has a website, ShorayWilliams.com, ShorayWilliams.com, where she sells her art. She has clothing. She does murals. She does a lot of commissions. She turns down a lot too because like she's super busy. She doesn't want to just be. She's not one of those people that like to be classified as like one thing. She's a creator, so her mind is going like this. So if you guys want to check her out, buy some of her merchandise, just say hello or tell her that you appreciate her artwork. She's really doing her thing.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys want to push where they could follow you guys at? I mean, you guys don't have to. It's just if you guys want to.
I mean, you can follow me on IG, respect_the_cam, CAM. Same thing with TikTok.
Okay.
Your girl don't mess with social media. Ooh, I keep hitting this damn thing.
Yeah.
I don't really mess with social media, honestly. I'm just on Facebook. I don't mess with it. I'm busy.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys both for coming in today, sharing your knowledge, your logic, and everything else. Because, like I said, I'm trying to figure it out as I'm coming through. So I have a lot of these questions, stuff like that, I'm trying to figure out. But I also want to thank the whole crew here at Habari Entertainment. Please like and follow Habari Live Podcast, Habari Entertainment, and please also check out One Love on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Stay safe out there, stay hydrated, and make it a great day. We're out.